Hello, this is Julian with Coffee Reviews, and today we'll be reviewing the Worka Sakaro Washed Ethiopia from Devout Coffee. And there's the bag right there. Alright, let's talk a little bit about Devout. So they were founded in December of 2013, and they're based out of Fremont, California. I had to look up exactly where that is, and it's between Oakland and San Jose in the Bay Area. Very interesting that they've been around for as long as they have, and I'm extremely familiar with the Oakland, San Jose, and entire Bay Area coffee scene. It was kind of a surprise I hadn't heard of them until they were suggested to me by one of my subscribers. Now, this coffee was featured in the blind taste test video, and it finished third. And I have to say, on that day, I was pretty surprised by this coffee, and throughout drinking this coffee, I've been pretty surprised, pleasantly surprised with this coffee, so just wanted to get that out of the way real quick. I think the main reason I was able to tell that this coffee was the one it was is it has those very common washed Ethiopia characteristics, pretty light-bodied coffee, pretty floral coffee, and on that day it was the most red fruit forward coffee with the exception of that onyx, but it was a much more clean coffee, and given that this was a wash and that was a natural, that pretty much gave it away that this was the coffee that it was. Let me talk a brief bit about the coffee bag real quick, because there's some interesting things to note about it. So I do like the design. They have a photo of the coffee shop on the front, and then they do have a ratio, their own ratio on the back. And I believe that this is probably the same for all of their coffee bags. They have a list at 22 grams of coffee to 350 grams of water at 200 degrees Fahrenheit. So that's a 15.9 to 1, and I did find that this ratio that they had on their bag was the best for this coffee after a lot of trial and error. So the details of this coffee, 15.9 to 1 water to coffee ratio at 200 degrees Fahrenheit. I brewed it through a Chemex, and they have it listed on here as the second lightest that they roast their coffee. I would call this a American light medium, about in between, pretty relatively light coffee for this. Let's go ahead and start talking about the coffee itself though. First experience, day 10, some interesting red fruits and some florals were the only kind of notable things I was getting from the coffee. And this is day 23, by the way. I did get this coffee on day 10, that's the only kind of knock I have, but due to COVID, you're getting some coffees a little later from shipping and from the coffee roaster, so it's fine, it's not a big deal, it just meant that I was extending out the roast date a little longer than normal. Day 12, I immediately started experimenting because I didn't think I got to day 10 right. Changed the recipe to my more standard recipe and was getting mostly raspberry seeds and a pretty clean floral component to this coffee. Day 15 went back to their recipe, a bit more flavorful, still a very clean cup of coffee, but I wasn't like wowed or blown away with this coffee yet. It was day 17 that I actually put it through the automatic coffee maker, and it was fantastic. It had some kind of peach flavors to it, very rose-like coffee, light-bodied, really nice delicate florals. That was the best day I had had of this coffee, and I kept trying to mirror that recipe. I put it back through the automatic coffee maker, and I just couldn't figure it out until I went back to their standard recipe on the Chemex. It's kind of interesting that it took that long for me to actually figure it out, but once I got this coffee figured out, it had some extremely beautiful florals, specifically that rose, that I really do enjoy in a lot of coffees. Day 19, back through the Chemex, again slightly harder to pick out, and day 21, I couldn't help but say very strong similarities and characteristics to a lot of heart coffees I've had. On that final day, I would describe it as a raspberry lemonade taste, some lovely rose water, and complemented by some nice fleshy fruits. All around, your standard washed Ethiopia, but a very enjoyable washed Ethiopia. Let me go ahead and put up the tasting wheel right now so you can see what I was getting. Florals at 5, correction 4, it could have been at 5. Berry fruit, happy with it at 3. I'm getting a tiny bit of lemon, so I'll put that at 2. I thought the stone fruits were a nice standout that I wasn't expecting, so I have them at 3. Pretty clean cup of coffee, and again, that was the biggest giveaway to this coffee on the blind taste test. It's the cleanest cup of coffee I had from all 5 of those. Not a whole lot else. Maybe sweetness could have been a little higher. Very low on the acidity of this coffee. You can see some things in this coffee that I really enjoy in a lot of coffees, and that's what made this one such a pleasant surprise. So I'm actually quite happy with this coffee. I think that Devout's done really well with this one. I'm curious about some of their other coffees, and It's hard to judge a coffee roaster just based off of one coffee, but they did a pretty nice job on this coffee for me. It was only beat out by 2 coffee roasters that I absolutely love, 2 of my favorites, Black and White and Onyx, so strong testament to Devout. The type of person I would suggest this coffee to is people that do like their Ethiopias from Hearts. It has so many similarities to that. Your rose water, especially if you like rose, this coffee is really nice. It's perfect. This is a very floral coffee, very enjoyable coffee. But I'm going to leave it at that. If you've tried Devout, especially if you've tried this coffee, please let me know your thoughts and opinions of this coffee roaster as well. If you're enjoying the content, give this video a like and subscribe if you're not already subscribed. But this right here has been a review of the Worka Sakaro Washed Ethiopia from Devout Coffee. Thank you for watching.